Hi guys, it's Dr. Jessica Freeman here with my special guest who's helping me today with our lecture, which will be focusing primarily on mass media research. Now, as we move into this module looks specifically at mass media research and theory, specifically focusing on effects. And it's one of my, contrary to what you guys might expect, favorite modules to talk about because it specifically delves into my training as a graduate student. And as we begin talking about this, I want you guys to understand that when you spend time with the chapter on mass media research, it is one of the denser chapters in our text. And I don't want you guys to get too caught up in the minutia of the different parts of the theories and the specifics. What I'm looking for here is that you can identify the different methodologies, to tell them apart from one another, to know the difference between what a focus group is versus what an interview is, or what a survey does versus what an experiment does. And not to go too much deeper than that, because you will do that in other upper level classes. So don't spend too much time getting into the details, but also to understand the different types of overarching forms of mass media research. Specifically, as you go and spend some time with the PowerPoint, which explicates parts in the chapter that don't necessarily have attention pointed to them. There are going to be two overarching types of research, secondary and primary research. Now, secondary research is going to be where you guys are pulling together research that other people have done. You are not putting your boots to the ground and going out and conducting studies. You are not gathering data. You are simply pulling research from a variety of sources to tell a story about something. And often this type of research serves the foundation for our other type of research, which was going to be primary research. Primary research is where you are actually going out and you are gathering data yourself. You are doing interviews, you are doing experiments or focus groups or surveys or whatever the methodology may be. You are the one gathering the data. And that is how we differentiate secondary from primary research. Now, you will notice if you spend some time with the PowerPoint that there are two different types of primary research that are listed. One is going to be what we call applied professional research, and the other is going to be more theoretically based. Let's talk about applied research. Now, applied research is going to be more professionally driven. It is typically going to be research that is initiated by companies, corporations, by organizations, or individuals who are aiming to answer a very narrow and specific question, and it's often tied to profit, to trying to make money. And specifically, for example, you might have Pepsi, right? This is a corporation, it's a big business, and they might want to hypothetically look at, are blue cans going to sell better than red cans? It's proprietary information, meaning that it's probably going to be owned by Pepsi. It's not going to be shared by them because it's to their advantage to keep that to themselves. They're paying for that research to better understand how to sell their product, how to solve a very narrow problem. On the other hand, people like me, folks who are scholars and academics, are more inclined to do what we call theoretically based research, theory research. This is going to be more academic in nature, and this is going to be research that is geared toward solving the bigger problems of understanding how phenomenon work, answering the big questions about the world. So we are trying to understand different types of phenomenon at hand and to try and develop theories that help explain the world around us. And as we talk, you'll understand that in general, good mass media research is going to be conducted to do one of three things: describe a process or a situation or a phenomenon, to explain why something is happening or is not happening, and finally to predict what might happen in the future. As a social scientist, we're studying social behavior, and so we are trying to predict what humans might do in the future. And so understand that those are the three things that drive good theory building, theoretical research. And ultimately, they are going to be tied to a so what question. At the end of the day, good theories are going to explain and predict, but they're also going to be tied toward understanding how that question can inform practitioners out in the real world to do their job more effectively and efficiently. And so good theory builds on those three characteristics. Good research builds on those three characteristics. Now, as you go through the chapter and your study reading guide, I want you to spend some time with the different types of methodologies that are outlined in the PowerPoint. Those specifically look at overarching categories like public opinion research, which specifically is surveys or polls or questionnaires that are going to help us understand what the public is thinking about any given topic. We see a lot of public opinion research conducted especially during voting season to understand what voters are thinking and who they may vote for. Secondly, another overarching category you're going to look at is audience size research. This is where we're looking at things like ratings for TV shows. We're looking at newspaper and magazine circulation. We're essentially trying to understand how big is the audience who are exposing themselves and buying these products or reading these products or watching this TV show. The third category you're going to want to spend some time with is audience reaction research. This is where we are ultimately trying to understand, as you might intuit, how audiences are reacting to different types of media stimuli. Thirdly, you're going to want to look at prototype test research. And this is where you are specifically testing a product. So screening a movie to see how much an audience likes it, right? Or you are screening a television product or testing an advertisement before you launch it and put it out there to see how effective it is. And then finally, the last category I want you to spend some good time with is audience analysis. This includes things like demographic research, cohort and generational research, or we're looking at also geodemographics and psychographics. And that leads me to specifically your activity for this particular chapter, which is going to be one that looks at the more applied research category. Specifically, your text talks about the VALS model, the VALS survey, which is a proprietary survey, meaning that a company owns it. You have to have permission and pay to use it typically. But it's commonly used and applied to understand psychological traits that are used to categorize consumers, ultimately to try and understand how you can sell a product to a consumer or media audience. And so with this, you guys are going to do an activity where you, number one, take the VALS survey yourself just to expose yourself to see what it's all about. It's kind of fun, I think. And then number two, you're going to apply what you learn about the VALS to two different case studies dealing with this type of psychographic information. And what I want you to understand in conclusion, as you are thinking about mass media research and this chapter of information, is that no methodology is perfect. It doesn't matter if you're doing a survey or an experiment or interviews or focus groups. It does not matter how careful you are. No study and no methodology is perfect. At the end of the day, different types of methodologies lend themselves to providing different types of insights. And often you'll see one that is going to supplement the other. For example, you may see a survey that is coupled with a series of interviews to help look at the topic more comprehensively. So understand at the end of the day that all of this type research that we're talking about has strengths, but it has limitations. No study, no method is perfect. And so that is why we use multiple methods very often. So with that, I want you to spend some time with those different methods. Again, just trying to understand what they do. Don't get too far into the minutia. And otherwise, ask any questions you may have. And I look forward to interacting with you over the next couple of days. Take care.